My wife and I have been having a morning of discussion, and some things have come up that I felt the urge to talk to you about. Um, it's come up for me many times of that we, as a species, have had civilization before this one. I think many people will agree on that at this point. Um, Many people won't, but there are stories that have been passed down in very powerful ways to help make it so that we won't forget. And I think that those stories have stayed with us for so long because there's truth to them. It doesn't mean that the story itself is true, but the truth to it is what keeps it going to every generation. The story of the Garden of Eden, let's skip the details, but that there was this way of living, which was in the Garden of Eden, and then there was a completely different way of living, and there was a sudden change. Then we have Noah. There was a complete and utter civilization that existed that was wiped out, and then there was a different civilization. Forget the animals in the ark and even Noah himself. Just see the story of that there's Atlantis, and then an end of Atlantis, and then a new beginning. So these stories and more, there's probably some that you're shouting out right now that are the same. And all of these stories are not about Noah. It's not about the snake. It's not about Adam and Eve. It's not about whoever it was that destroyed Atlantis. It's about that there was a civilization that ended seemingly abruptly, and a new civilization began. Now, in the previous civilizations of these stories, I can't say we even had the same type of body. As in, I don't know if anyone has been following the Nazca mummies, which is in Nazca where they have the Nazca lines, which you've, I'm sure, heard of or seen, where there are inscriptions on the earth that can only be seen by the air, done by ancients who didn't have flying vehicles. But that's where these mummies were found. And these mummies have now been proven that they're not 100% human, as in they are 60% human, and the rest of the DNA they don't know. They just don't know what it is. It hasn't been discovered. We could jump to aliens, and maybe it very well is, and maybe some crashed, and that's where they came from. I don't know. That's all speculation. But another speculation is that is maybe who we were before this, and those were the ones who lived in the civilization that ended. That were us. I don't know, but that's it's an idea and a thought that I'm feeling is a good one. Just my own personal. Um, so I've also seen other things. I saw a rock that had the map of the earth carved into it. Ancient rock. A complete, all the continents were carved into the rock, including Antarctica. But the issue with the map is that Antarctica was carved onto the rock in the shape before it had ice, which dates the rock prehistory of any kind that we have. And scientists have been able to show that the shape of Antarctica on that rock as a landmass is correct, because they are able to tell what the actual landmass shape is under the ice. So that means that they had ships, they had navigation, they were able to follow coastlines and map it out. All these things in an ancient time. And why? And also on this rock was an X, and that X was where the cave was, where they found the rock. So not only were they able to make the map, but they knew where they were on it. So what has come up for me is if we had this civilization, obviously it's not the same as what we have now. I don't believe necessarily they had electricity, that they had rocket fuel, all those kinds of things. I think that they had a civilization with technology that was just different than what we have today. Their motivation was different. I don't believe they had war or currency, those kinds of things. War and currency creates a motivation to invent and create. As in bronze, you learn about, oh my God, if I find this rock in the earth and I mix it with that rock, I could make a better sword than what my neighbors have, and we could take their land. And it's a different mentality. So there's a motivation. With currency, money, that kind of thing. Boy, if I invented such and such, I could be wealthy forever. I don't believe that those things existed in those civilizations. Whether that comes from somewhere else, I just know this to be true. So their technology and inventions, I think they were very advanced, just in a different way, as in Atlantis, the mystery of Atlantis. I don't believe it's one place on the earth that disappeared. There's talking about us as a civilization that once existed that no longer does. And Atlantis was, we were advanced in this different way and destroyed ourselves. That's the story. I don't know. I mean, Noah had a different story. God destroyed us. The Garden of Eden was, God kicked us out. So the details of how we left are different for different reasons. We don't know what those reasons are. The story isn't the details. The story is that we once lived before in a very real way. This is also a real way. It's just that there's two different ways that we've lived. So obviously if we lived once, it was destroyed. Some of us survived, or else we wouldn't still be here. We would have never created another civilization. So some were left over from the previous civilization. What was it that changed our way of proceeding in our existence? We lived very differently. Garden of Eden, we were with God, we were all one, all that kind of thing. Atlantis, along the same lines. Well, with Noah, we were all bad and evil and terrible. But before Noah, how did we eat, drink, be merry, and we had buildings, all those things? We had a civilization, is the point. How that got transferred to us being bad or good, I don't know. But what I do know is there was a sudden end and a new beginning. Some lived and survived, and those people created what we have today, which is very different than what we had before. What made them decide to cover up our history, to pretend we don't know where we came from, to say We were not there before. We don't know what the pyramids are. We don't know how long they've been there. We don't know anything about ourselves. Just keep going. And we go through our lives in our own little worlds. I mean, we could see on the media how easy it is to control people by telling them what you want them to hear. And they will start believing it and acting upon. I'm not saying I'm awake. I'm saying that I also have been controlled to see things in a certain way that I'm trying to get out of. And obviously, if you're listening to me today, you also are trying to get out of that control of who we are and where we're going and where we've been. How could we be a civilization with amnesia? The people in Egypt have never known how to read the hieroglyphics. Why? Because they were not from there. It was empty, and those people moved in, and I'm sure they didn't know how to read it when they moved in there either. This is a pre-history place that had technologies that we don't understand. We've seen holes drilled in rock this big that are precision, laser-like, that go through multiple feet. But they had no technology, they had no electricity, they had no machinery, all these kinds of things. How is this possible? These are mysteries. Oh, so we just write up, oh, mysteries of the world. No, there was technologies that we don't understand. We were different as a being. How we existed was different. And that has been covered up. That has been the veil that has been covering our eyes, that we are trying to understand. Who decided, whom or what decided that if we were going to start over, that we will not do what we did the last time, whatever that last time was, but that it had to be hidden, that we could never know, and that we had to be controlled in a way so that we would never do that again. I can't say it's bad or good because I just plain old don't know. But obviously, it was powerful enough to create us in this civilization as an unknowing species. We believe we are our bodies, our minds, our emotions. We believe everything around us is true. What we're told has to be. I don't believe that that's our natural state. Our natural state is something quite different. So it has been a very, very great effort to make sure we don't find out. I don't know why. That's the, can't put a price on that. That's the question, is why? Why must we never know who we are, who we were? Why is that such a secret? So obviously to me, there are some that do know. I mean, we've got the Illuminati, we've got the Freemasons, we've got, the deep state. We've got these secret organizations. How much they know, which group does know, maybe they all do, I don't know. But there are some I'm certain of that do know who we are and where we've come from. And those are those secret organizations. And it seems to be at all costs we must be stopped from returning to that state. I just wish I knew why. For it to be so determined, there's got to be good reason. The reasons they have today may be very evil and not very good reasons, but at the beginning, when they were ready to start new, they had to have had some good reasons they didn't want us to know, but it's turned into something else at this point through greed, control, those kinds of things. But I don't believe that's what started it out. If you think about it, if we lived in a different way, where there wasn't war and currency, those kinds of things, and then that civilization ended abruptly, it doesn't make sense that immediate idea is greed and control and power. That's not where those people came from. Maybe it was infiltrating in that civilization and that's what caused the fall. Maybe. But I think that time has gone on long enough that there's no more, it's starting to seep out of us of who we really are. It's coming out in very opposite ways. We've got, I've never even heard of it until a few years ago. We got the very far left and the very far right. I mean, these are opposites of each other. These are, the left are saying, we are ignoring our feelings, we're ignoring our truth, we are hurting other human beings, we just want it free everywhere. That's that old civilization that we had before the crash. The right is saying, no, we can't have that. We've got currency, we've got war, we've got all these different things that we look after. If we do it your way, we're all going to perish. So they're both right, but they're both extremes. It's when you take the truth and reality and put them together that we become that civilization that we no longer have. And those deep state, whatever they are, want to keep it at these polar opposites. They want to make sure we never come to this place in the middle and become that. And that has been a goal since the start of this civilization, for that not to happen. It's going to happen anyway because it's the truth, and truth is truth, and it's not going to change because someone wants it to. So for me, that's where we are headed now. We are heading back into that truth. We are going to become who we are, whatever that is. We're going to find out. And it's not what we think. Because obviously what we think so far is completely wrong. And I don't care if you're left, right, or in the middle, you're wrong. Because if you're right, we'd be there already, and we're not. But we're headed there. So, it was a conversation that we were having this morning that I wanted to share because I felt it was important. I think that as we head into, this new way of experiencing things, which I believe is age old, there's going to be a lot of things happening. And when we've been indoctrinated to think a certain way, when a completely different way of seeing things starts, it will be like an infiltration. It's going to start infiltrating us as a being. And it's not going to be easy. I mean, it could be easy if we just accepted it and just went with it. But that's not in our nature at this point. We're going to fight it every step of the way. And as it comes in of who we truly are in a different way of even seeing out through our eyes, we're going to be seeing things in a different way around us, just natural things that look different. It's going to affect the way we think. We're going to fight it. We're going to fight it as a species because it goes against what we've been indoctrinated into. We're going to judge it. We're going to want to destroy it. We're going to do all these things, even though it's our own self, our own truth of who we are. So the state of the planet and the people on it is going to be horrendous. And don't kid yourself. This is coming, and there's no choice in that we're going to stop it from happening any longer. Because it is our own spirit as a collective that is rejecting the indoctrination and the civilization that we've accepted for so long. Our own inner self as a collective is rejecting it. And that's what the left is. They're a voice for that rejection. But the misunderstandings of what it is what's making it so crazy. That can't, that indoctrination of the left cannot be for the world. It does not work. And that's what the right is saying. They're both correct. So, how we get to this new existence is only through individuality. We're not going in groups. We're not going in agreement of ideas. Any of that. That's all things that we've tried, and it just doesn't work. It's not going to be one religion. There's going to be no religion. There isn't a religion. There's no such thing. Religion is made from someone who understood some truth, and then everybody else that didn't know what they were talking about made a religion out of it. Hear the truth of what was said, but feel sorry for the religion made from it. An example of this is there's been many what they're called are yogis. They can be called many different things in different areas on the earth that have lived in caves or lived in the mountains or whatever, and they've reserved themselves to God, whatever that is for them. And there's many stories about people like this who have lived in a mountain above a village, and the people in the village bring them food and pray with them and stuff. The people in the village don't understand the yogi, but they know the yogi is close to God and has a higher purpose. And the yogi has expressed things that they have seen as proof that they are truly something different than what the rest of us can experience. So they'll watch the yogi and the different things that he does, and then imitate him because the yogi's doing it, so I'm going to do it. That's where yoga came from. The yogi's up the mountain doing his own thing, and some people come to watch him, and all of a sudden he starts twisting himself in these different positions and all these different stretches. What these are called are kriyas. It's actually energy that is flowing through you in a certain way that creates your body to do these different positions. It's actually not the yogi thinking, oh, I'm going to twist myself into a pretzel and see if I could do that today. It is actually a natural phenomena that will happen to you or anyone else as we progress in our own understanding of ourselves. But the people watching the yogi don't know this. They just see him doing it. So they go home and stretch the heck out of themselves over a very long period of practice and time to try and get themselves in that position. And they've accomplished something. And I do believe that brings on a lot of health and a lot of positivity and a lot of things, because it is a natural thing that happens that they are imitating. But the fact is the yogi himself is just allowing nature to take place on his own growth. So that is what's going to happen. I use that example as a lot of changes are going to happen that we don't understand. So we either fight it, and if we do, those kriyas are going to be painful. Along with mental understandings, if we fight those things, it's going to be painful. Emotionally, physically, spiritually, beliefs are going to really get in the way. So, judgments, we have to just flow. You got to go with it, whether you think it's good or not. Because I'm not saying hurt anybody. I'm talking about judgments. Judgments about yourself, other people, the trees around you, everything. Those kinds of things. Acceptance, to be willing to want to go home. Be willing to give up everything to get there. And I mean everything. Because you must know that anything here isn't worth it. Anything that we have created or think or done just isn't true. There's nothing here that will fulfill us, that will make us better, that will make us happy. There is nothing. If you know that and can let go of this body. If this body dies in my allowance of this to come, I will let it go. I don't believe it will die. I believe amazing things will happen when I do that. And when you do that. So thank you for watching. Just so I know, if you like the video, it'd be great if you click a like or leave a comment. Thank you very much.